and Adab from your astrologer friend Irfan. Friends, today I am going to talk about the recent Rahu and Ketu transit and the results of the transit for Aquarius Ascendants. And to do a little preparation, I also wore black to represent Saturn, because I consider the Aquarius sign and the Mutrikon sign of Saturn to be a more auspicious sign for Saturn rather than Capricorn. Aquarius is also the sign of doing better for the larger society, for the larger world, and a lot of people as an Aquarius ascendants have been able to bring about solutions for the world because of using Saturn's energy as part of being Aquarius ascendants, especially when Saturn is placed well. So while talking about the transit and the better effects or the results for Aquarius ascendants, it is also important to note that while Rahu is transiting through the 5th house in Gemini for Aquarius ascendants, Ketu and Saturn are transiting through the 11th house for Aquarius ascendants. So what does this mean? One of the things that this transit means is that both your 5th house of gains as well as your 11th house of gains both are activated because of this transit, and that's why this is a very important transit for Aquarius ascendant natives. So without spending much time, let's start the analysis of Rahu and Ketu transit in the 5th house and 11th house for Aquarius ascendant natives. So let us see what are the results of the recent Rahu and Ketu transit in the sign of Aquarius for Aquarius ascendants, I mean. Now Rahu is transiting through Gemini for Aquarius ascendants in the 5th house, whereas Ketu and Saturn are transiting through the 11th house for Aquarius ascendants. Now, what are the results of this transit of Rahu and Ketu for Aquarius ascendants respectively? Rahu transiting through the 5th house has specific results of the 5th house. Now, what does the 5th house denote? The 5th house denotes children, speculative investments, speculative gains, performing arts, performing in front of an audience. It also constitutes finances, investments in financial institutions, and it also constitutes what you like to do, what your hobbies are, and what you like to do as something which makes you happy. Now Rahu in transit through the 5th house makes the Aquarius native focused on the results of the 5th house. So Aquarius ascendants during the transit of Rahu would focus more on, or would take more keen interest on, or would feel a hunger for, or focused on the results of the 5th house. So the Aquarius natives will be looking at what investments they can do, what are the gains they have got so far from the investments they have made. If they are into performing arts, they are artists, so these people would want to relook at where their career is heading. If somebody wants to pursue something which is related to media, which is related to performing, which is related to arts and artistic performances, then people may take interest and also try and develop those hobbies further. Some of the Aquarius natives may take up learning from a proper professional service as well. Also, Aquarius natives will take a more keen interest in the affairs of the children, will also look at what are the gains that they have got from children, or communicate more often with children, spend more time with the children. Plus, because the 5th house is also the house of romance, Aquarius natives will also focus their lives on, or try and spend more time on, romantic endeavors. So Aquarius natives may want to go out more, spend more time with their loved ones, specifically with the opposite gender, with their girlfriends or their partners or their spouse. So the focus will be on the affairs mostly of the 5th house, and placed in transit in the 5th house, Rahu aspects the 9th house of gains in the sign of Libra, which means Aquarius natives will be looking at getting gains from long distance travel, because the 9th house is the house of long distance travel. Also from high learning, they may want to study further if you have just done graduation, or they may want to add another degree like masters or do their PhD and so forth. Some Aquarius natives may also want to take spiritual journeys and go to temples, may want to go to spiritual places, may take up some higher learning, may take the services of a professional guru, somebody who is an expert in their field. The other aspect of Rahu is on the Lagna, which means that the Aquarius natives will focus a lot on themselves, or relook at themselves, will relook at how they are being perceived by others, whether they are being respected enough, whether their personality is shining. So their focus will be more on themselves. They will be more keen to hear feedback from others to know what are the areas they can improve upon themselves. Also focus on the ascendant means that the native will be looking at what all have the journey that they have traversed so far, what all has the gains they have got through life so far. So being focused on self, they will look at all aspects of the 5th house and the 9th house for self. So even when they're taking more keen interest in romance, it is because they like it, it gives them a boost, it makes their personality shine to others. They may also feel an ego boost if they have a beautiful partner or an accomplished partner. And even the interest of the 5th house will probably be so that they can also influence others and also come across as better people in front of others. So to some extent, the interest in the aspects or the areas of the 5th house will also be to have their own personality shine and come across as more or come across better. And the same thing for the results of the 9th house as well. Now, what does the placement of Ketu in transit through the 11th house mean? Ketu placed in transit in the 11th house means that the affairs of the 11th house are highlighted, or should I say are more subdued, because Ketu is a planet or a shadow planet of subjugation or absorbing all the results of the house and sign they sit in. So Ketu, when placed in the 11th house, absorbs all the results of the 11th house. So it does not allow gains or limits the gains that you get from the affairs of the 11th house, such as from friends, from your social network, from your extended circle, from others that you know in your organization or previous organization. Limits the interaction with your elder siblings, limits gains which come from the 11th house, because the 11th house is also the house of gains and is also an Upachaya house. And placed in the 11th house and aspecting the 3rd house, which is also the Kama Bhav. So from one Kama Bhav, Ketu is aspecting the other Kama Bhav. Because the 3rd house is also the house of self-endeavor, self-direction and self-effort and valor to achieve something in life, also denotes how much life you have in yourself. So aspecting the 3rd house, specifically in the sign of Aries, which is a fiery sign, means Aquarius natives will feel a little subdued, may also feel less energetic, may also take less interest in short journeys or communication, because the 3rd house is also the natural house and the karaka of communication. May also focus less on any skill sets that they can exhibit, because the 3rd house is also the house of your limbs, of doing something with your hands or skills that you do, that you can demonstrate or showcase with your hands. So such people who use their hands a lot, use their limbs a lot, whether to communicate or to type or to write or to mold something, or artists using their fingers, they sculpt or paint, there they will find that they're a little subdued and they are as much output as they expect from themselves, or the kind of output they want, they may not be able to showcase during this phase. Their interaction with the younger siblings will also reduce. the interaction with the neighbors will also reduce. And because the third house is also the house of marketing and representing self and branding yourself, so while Rahu is focused on the ascendant and wants to shine, Ketu does not give the Aquarius ascendants enough energy to shine, enough energy to be able to go out and present themselves well. So this is an oxymoron and conflicting energies which will come in, because of which there would be some frustration and confusion also in the minds of Aquarius natives. The other aspect that Ketu has, the ninth aspect, is on the 7th house of partnerships, marital happiness, business partnerships, and dealing with others, as well as intimacy, affairs of intimacy. Now, with this particular placement in transit, Ketu is placed in one karma house, is aspecting another karma bhav, and also aspecting the third karma bhav. So place in one karma bhav and aspecting the other two karma bhavs means that the affairs of intimacy are completely subdued for Aquarius natives during this phase, which means they will get less time for intimate romance or intimate relations or affections with the opposite gender. Second thing, because the 11th house, the 3rd house and 7th house also constitutes dealing with others, business partnerships, such natives will also see that if they are in business, they will get less gains from partnerships, they will take less interest in the partnerships. If you're thinking of going for a partnership, you will find that there are roadblocks in going for a partnership, and you will also see that in trying to forge partnerships with extended circle, you may not be able to do so, and your interaction with them will also be limited. Or if you make a offer of partnership, the other party may not agree to your terms and conditions, and somehow the partnership and the interaction and the dealing with the opposite gender or with the opposite party in life and in partnership will be reduced, subdued, or not keep going. Now, what does Saturn do placed in the 11th house in transit? Saturn limits the results of the place or the house and sign that it sits in. So while Ketu completely absorbs and negates the results of the sign it sits in or the house it sits in, and year of the 11th house, Saturn also contributes to that, but in such a manner that it limits the results of the house unless the native puts in huge effort to be able to get its benefits out of that house. So if somebody who is an Aquarius ascendant puts a lot of hard work, diligent work, and works with others, long hours, putting in structured, organized effort in an ethical manner, following rules and regulations, then over a period of time, some gains may come through. But this is a sign of a lot of hard work for Aquarius ascendants. The good thing is, because Saturn is also the lord of the Lagna and sitting in the natural bhav, which is its 11th house, so it will not give as negative effects as it could do for some other ascendants where Saturn is a Maraka rather than a Yoga Karaka. Now, the third aspect of Saturn is on its own sign in the ascendant. So, while it is not a negative sign, however, Saturn aspecting its own sign, own house, that too of Aquarius, shows that such a native who may need to work long hours to groom themselves. So while Rahu gives you the energy and wants you to shine and you may want to put in effort, Saturn will ensure that the gains that you expect from shining in front of others and the personality enhancement that you want will not come through easily. You will not be able to influence others easily. You will not be able to leave a mark on others easily. Unless you really do your background hard work, you are equipped and you come across as somebody who has put in long hours of work, what you're trying to influence others with. The other thing that Saturn does here is with its 7th aspect, it aspects Rahu itself in the 5th house. So from one house of gains, which is the 11th house, Saturn aspects the other house of gains and Rahu. So here Saturn puts kind of a ring or a sort of a limitation on Rahu's energy, because of which Rahu is not able to shine as much as it wants to, because Saturn's limitation energy or aspect is on Rahu.
which means that not only will the results of the 5th house be coming slowly, but at the same time, Aquarius native will have to work very hard so that Rahu can give its benefits, specifically sitting in the 5th house. So hard work, toiling, putting in the bending your back is something that Aquarius ascendants will have to do to get results out of the 5th house. Also, to spend time with your children, you'll have to plan yourself well. So while Rahu will create an interest in the affairs of the children, Saturn will ask you to plan yourself. Otherwise, you may want to be there, but children may not be around because they may get busy. They may be doing their own thing. So if you really want to spend time with your children, then you'll have to plan and organize yourself around the time of your children. Secondly, if you're wanting to make investments of the 5th house, Saturn will ensure that you are diligent and you organize and you do your background check well before investing. Otherwise, the investment will not come good. Saturn also limits the amount of time that you can spend with your loved ones and in romantic endeavor. And if you are not committed to the relationship, then Saturn will not allow you to go ahead. And the other partner will see your game, will see you through you if you're not committed in the relationship and you're not sincere in the relationship. And the 10th aspect of Saturn is on the 8th house. Now Saturn is also a Karaka of the 8th house, and here it aspects a friendly sign of Virgo. Now based on how your planets are placed in your natal chart, different planets will give different results based on Rahu's aspect, Rahu's placement, Saturn's aspect, Saturn's placement, and Ketu's aspect and Ketu's placement. So here with the 10th aspect in the 8th house, Saturn will have a protecting layer around the native and protect you against sudden events, obstacles of the 8th house, health related challenges, losses in protection against losses in financial investments or wealth management, and so on and so forth. However, this will be only when your planetary placements in your natal chart are good. Mercury is placed well, Saturn is placed well in your natal chart.
Now that we have found out what are the results that can be expected for Aquarius Ascendant natives for the recent Rahu and Ketu transit in the 5th and 11th house respectively, let us also look at what our own charts, our own personal horoscopes are going to give us as with our planetary placements during this transit, because this is a 1.5 year long duration transit. And within this transit, various planets will be changing their position. Jupiter is going to move into Sagittarius in November. In fact, during its Gadanta, it is going to move into Sagittarius for some time and then come back again in retrograde over the next 2 months. That's why this transit is very, very important, because a combination of results can come through during this transit, including transits of other planets like Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and so forth. So please analyze and look into your horoscope basis this transit. Reach out to me for a personal consultation at the email ID that I have given in the links below, and subscribe to this channel so that you can note when new videos are coming by and you can rise off yourself of the learning. So till we meet some other time with some other video, this is goodbye from your friend Irfan. Ciao.